watching Driven, powered by Petronas Premix 95 with advanced energy formula. Now, if you are looking for your first car, this episode is perfect for you as we look at Malaysia's best, most affordable cars. And this is a Perodua Axia SE, coming in at slightly over 35,000 ringgit. It has a 1-litre 3-cylinder engine and has a fuel economy figure of 20 kilometers per litre.
Here we have the Proton Iriz. From 40,000 ringgit, it's a little bit more expensive. This has got a 1.3-litre 4-cylinder engine and it's the biggest car we have here today.
Finally, the Kia Picanto. Much more expensive than the others, with a list price of around 52,000 ringgit. But you can now get it with big discounts that bring it closer to the Proton. It has a 1.25-litre 4-cylinder engine, and despite its high price, it is the smallest car of the lot.
So 1, 2 or 3? Which is cheap and cheerful, and which is just plain cheap? Stay tuned to find out.
Now, some of you may wonder, why these three cars? Why not the cheaper Axias, for instance? Why not the Proton Saga? And since we're looking at the Iriz, why aren't we comparing it with the Myvi?
The answer is simple enough. ABS. To us, that's the bare minimum that a new car should have. So, that rules out the base Axias and Sagas. And it's the same with the Myvi. The cheaper models have no ABS.
I mean, come on, it's just ABS. Driving a car without ABS is like riding a bike without a helmet. Now just imagine that. Hence, that's why we have these three options as Malaysia's most affordable cars.
How cheap is cheap? Well, the monthly installments for these cars are all between 400 and 500 ringgit per month over a 9-year loan period. Cheapest of the lot is the Perodua Axia, which is the replacement for the Viva. Now it's the best-selling car in Malaysia, taking the title away from the Myvi that has been the nation's top seller for the past 10 years. The one here is an SE, which is the cheapest model equipped with ABS.
For the Proton Iriz, variants don't matter all that much, as all models get ABS and even electronic stability control as standard. This is a B-segment hatch, of course, a class bigger than the other two cars here. But factor in dealer discounts and it's actually not that much more expensive than the Axia.
If you prefer something that's not local, then the most affordable choice is the Kia Picanto. Yes, it's small, but it looks good, and its safety equipment level is excellent with ABS, 6 airbags and electronic stability control all as standard. You can ignore the list price for this one and easily get discounts of more than 10,000 ringgit from most showrooms.
Generally, these cars don't turn heads. However, having said that, this Axia SE is one of the range's top models, unlike the Picanto and the Iriz, which are the base variants. So, it looks pretty good as it is. You wouldn't step into it wishing that you have bought a more expensive version.
In comparison, the Iriz looks cheapened, especially next to the top 1.6 models. You get smaller wheels and no fog lamps. If you buy the cheapest version, you lose the body kit, spoiler and rear wiper as well. It's as basic as it gets, this one. If you see the Iriz as a poor man's car, then this is the poor man's Iriz.
The Picanto here is also a base model, but in this regard, it's better than the Iriz. Yes, you still get the smaller wheels and you lose the fog lamps, but you get LED daytime running lights. Yay! Not so cheapo lah kan?
But we all know it is what's inside that counts. With the Perodua Axia, what you get inside is a lot of space. In fact, there's a lot of legroom over here, more than the Iriz and the Myvi. And check this out. A safety hook for handbags and other things Malaysian. Not bad. But the less that is said about the interior, the better. It has cheap plastics all over. Check this out. And on top of that, you can't even adjust the steering wheel. I'm like, what?
Now the Iriz may have a bit less legroom back here, but it has much nicer seats, and it's the only one here that can properly fit 3 adults in the back. Up front, the interior looks good at first glance, certainly better than the Perodua, but you'll soon notice the little things like these rattly aircon knobs and the cheap radio buttons. How all these are going to last throughout the years? Well, who knows?
In the Picanto, you'll have to squeeze into this teeny-weeny space. It's the smallest car here. What do you expect, right? With that said, the interior fit and finish compared to the other two is fantastic. You don't get that low budget built to a price feel like the rest, you know? Yeah, I can definitely get used to this. The Picanto should feel the most powerful here. It has about the same amount of power as the Iriz, but in a much lighter body. However, on the move, it really doesn't feel like it. Don't get me wrong, it's not slow. It's just that when you really step on it, it's just not that satisfying, you know? And the clutch action is very, very poor. Overly light, there's no feel, and stepping on the clutch pedal is like stepping on, well, nothing. Well, the shift action itself is actually pretty good. It's just that as a whole, it's not a very nice experience. But, it's way better than the Axia. Way, way better.
The Perodua Axia is a very basic car. 1 litre engine with 3 cylinders and no variable valve timing. You can really feel it. There is very bad vibrations even at idle and during acceleration. And it doesn't help that the clutch in this manual version has 0 weight and feel. Plus, the gear lever is loose all the time. You know, a lot of people would like to buy manual cars because they are more fun to drive and so on. Unfortunately, it's not the case here. It's like a chore.
What about the Iriz? Surprisingly, it feels the most sophisticated here. The engine is quite refined and very free revving. This 1.3 is more than enough for everyday use. You won't feel like you want a 1.6 all that much. Well, not all the time anyway. And this gear change, it's easily the best of the 3 cars here. Not perfect, mind you, but still, it's pure joy just to go through the gears. The clutch is nice, linear, and very easy to modulate. And you've got the slickest and most precise shift action here. And you know the best part? It's not a Proton CVT. That one's slow, noisy, thirsty. Everything you don't want out of an automatic gearbox. No. If you want an Iriz, you've got to have the manual. You also get a very refined and cushy ride with good handling balance. You know what this is? This is that rare combination of comfort and fun with quick and sharp steering thrown in. Really, if there's one thing Proton is good at, it's this. Hand on heart, the Iriz is brilliant to drive. I know you're going to ask me, yeah, brilliant when compared to the other two, right? No, it's brilliant, full stop.
Unfortunately, the Axia is sloppy to drive. It's just not sorted. The steering wheel is over-assisted while the brakes are not servoed enough, if you know what I mean. And you wouldn't want to make full throttle maneuvers with this car because the engine gets quite noisy when you step on it as such. However, there is a saving grace for the car. The ride is pretty good. It's soft, but of course not for spirited driving, but to drive in city or town roads and to negotiate over potholes and so on, it's pretty good. It's quite impressive for a small car.
Once again, the Picanto falls in the middle. It's not as fun or as comfortable as the Iriz, but it's not as wallowy or thrashy as the Perodua. The ride is very, very good. There's the level of sophistication that's quite rare in A-segment cars. However, compared to the B-segment Iriz, yeah, there's no way that this can compare.
Fuel economy is a big factor for small affordable cars like these. To see which one would use the least fuel, we tested them over similar driving conditions with Petronas Premix 95 with advanced energy formula. The technology behind this fuel has helped the Mercedes-AMG Petronas Formula 1 team win back-to-back Constructors' Championships for 2 years running. A winning formula doesn't get any better than this.
As expected, the Perodua Axia proved to be the most economical here, averaging 16.8 km per litre. The Kia Picanto is second on the list, with 14.5 km per litre, while the Proton Iriz, being the biggest and heaviest here, used the most fuel at 12.7 km per litre.
So guys, what's our conclusion?
Well, this should be surprising. The Axia comes in last. It is cheap, but it's not cheerful. Yes, it is spacious and the ride is not bad, but it's just poor at everything else. It kind of feels out of depth in this group.
I agree. I think for a car like the Axia, the cheaper base variants make more sense. However, like we said earlier, safety should always be your top priority. So no ABS, no buy. And near the top of its range, like that one there, it borders on being expensive. At these prices, there are better cars out there.
Second is the Picanto. Definitely better than the Axia in many areas. Interior quality, gearbox, and engine. Plus, it looks great for its size, and it comes with top safety features. With big discounts, it is fantastic value for money. However, it is quite a lot of money for a car this small. And if you're looking for something fun to drive, this is not it.
And that leaves us with the winner, the Proton Iriz. Whether you like the brand or not, this is without doubt Proton's best car to date. It's genuinely great to drive, the cabin is a really nice place to be in, and it's very, very comfortable. Between these three cars, it's an easy choice. I present to you Malaysia's best, most affordable car, the Proton Iriz.
But remember, our recommendation is for the manual Iriz. The CVT, not really recommended at this point of time. With that said, we have reached the end of our episode. See you next time.
Driven, powered by Petronas Premix 95 with advanced energy formula.